All right, welcome back to the Pro Football Hall of Fame right here in Canton, Ohio, the most inspiring place on earth for our latest installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Before the Snap series. If you haven't tuned in before and this is your first time, you guys are in for a very, very cool program. This program, we put it in place to showcase all the different careers in and around the NFL. And today, proud to have one of our Hall of Fame's own, who you'll learn about here in a second, to talk about her career right here in Canton, Ohio. If you've tuned in before, you know what you're going to hear. You're going to hear all these great stories, tips, and tricks on what it takes to become a professional in the sports industry, as well as the great story on how Kara, our special guest today, got her job right here in Canton, Ohio. So thank you for everybody tuning in. We are super excited for this installment. I know when we get to talk to our Hall of Fame family, it is very, very special to us here in Canton. As you know, my name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth and Education Manager here at the Hall of Fame. I'm excited to host this program today. A little bit about us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Our mission is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence, all of which not only make you a Hall of Famer on the football field, but they can make you a Hall of Famer off the field. And that applies so much to a career in the sports field. And you'll hear these values come up in almost every answer that we hear from Kara today. So these values aren't just for sports, aren't just for school, aren't just for extracurriculars. They are truly work for anything in your life and definitely will make you a better person, help you live a Hall of Fame life. Before we do get started, I do want to thank some folks first. First, Kara, thank you so much for giving time out of your busy schedule to be a guest on our show on the program today. We say the game of football wouldn't be like it is without our Hall of Famers influence. And that goes the same for everybody that works in the game as well. So thank you so much you do for the game. And especially thank you so much you do for the Hall of Fame, especially our youth and education team. Thank you so much for all the help over the past time since you've been here at the Hall of Fame. Secondly, I'd like to thank our teachers, administrators, professors, educators, whoever you are, that allowed us to come into your classroom today. We know this school year has been a crazy one. We're so close to being back to normal. So we thank you for allowing us to be a small part of your learning experience this year. Lastly, got to thank all the students. Without you guys, this program doesn't take place. As always, we got Nathan Martin, who's in a little bit of different spot this time, as we got Kara in our Gold Jacket Lounge. But he's watching all the Facebook comments come through. So make sure you get those questions today submitted. I know he'll joke that nobody wants to hear from me. We want to hear from you students. And the only way we can is if you submit those questions. So first off, let us know where you're watching from. Go ahead and hit the comment section up now. Let us know what school you go to, where you're watching this from. And then once you have a question, put that in there as well. And we'll do our best to make it a part of the program. So today, we are lucky and super grateful to be joined by Kara Kwiecinski, our own here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who's the senior video producer and chief audio engineer at the Hall of Fame, which is, I'll say, one of the coolest titles I think we've had so far. After graduating from Salem High School in Canton, Michigan, she's in Canton, Ohio now. Pretty cool lineup there. She went on to receive her BA from Madonna University up in Michigan in broadcast and cinema arts with a minor in marketing. Upon graduation, she started right here in Canton, Ohio as the production intern, and then went on to become the senior video producer and chief audio engineer, her current position. Her role includes overseeing all technical aspects of various programs and productions at the Hall, along with filming, editing, photography, everything that goes on at the Pro Football Hall of Fame for both social and digital needs. And as well, you've seen her as part of all of our programming here, whether it's Before the Snap, our Heart of a Hall of Famer powered by Extreme Networks. She's been a part of these programs. So we're happy to have her on the other side of the microphone this time, on the other side of the camera. Some other stuff she helps with include the Mission Podcast, which is hosted by our great friend and coworker, Jameer Howerton here at the Hall of Fame. So make sure you subscribe to that. Got to get that plug in there. Kara's working behind the scenes to make sure that can get out to all of the fans. Knock at the Door, virtual shows, 24-hour live stream channel, among very many others. So with that, I am super excited to welcome our special guest today, Kara Kwiecinski. Kara, welcome. Hello. Thanks for being a part of the program.
Thanks for having me here, guys. I really appreciate it. And it's funny that you mentioned I help with all of your Ed Pro shows. It's kind of weird to be on this side, being the person being interviewed instead of helping you and asking the question to your guests. So thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. We are super excited for the program today, and we'll start the program out just like we do every other one. Kind of read through your bio there, kind of touched on a little bit of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. But can you kind of give us the 10,000 foot view? What do you do? What are some of the things you're working on maybe right now, things you handle on a day-to-day basis here at the Hall of Fame?
Definitely. So as you said, I always say that I help handle everything. Me and along with my team, we help handle everything that goes on here at the hall, everything that goes on under the broadcast sun. We have podcasts. We do just short social videos. We make TV shows. Really the photography, it's kind of hard to narrow it down to one specific thing because we do so much here for the hall and with the hall, with video, social, all that fun stuff. But yeah, right now what we have going on, we're gearing up for draft. An NFL draft is coming up and we're getting ready for our 2-hour draft show that's going on. The first for round 1 of the draft, 2 hours before. So today I'm in the Gold Jacket Lounge because we've taken over the presentation center. That's our makeshift studio. Because we're recording all of our podcasts in there with current NFL draft scouts and NFL people that you see on NFL Network and Fox Sports. We're doing all kinds of things, recording podcasts with them and recording different content for our show coming up the day of the day the draft kicks off.
So a lot of cool, exciting things. And I think that's really cool because, a lot of people see the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They think of one time of the year. Enshrinement Week powered by Johnson Controls, the first week of August when we enshrine our new class. This year, 2 classes are going to be enshrined. I think, that's kind of the misconception about the Hall of Fame is that that's the only thing that we do. And there's so much more, so much great stuff, content that the Hall of Fame is putting out throughout the year. So, for you, throughout the year, what is that like? Is it a steady flow? Is it kind of go in line with the NFL calendar? Obviously things pick up in August, but throughout the year, what are some of the other things you're working on, maybe in preparation for August? So when August comes, it's 100% hitting the ground running with our enshrinement.
Yes, definitely. So our schedule here kind of aligns with the NFL schedule. Plus, we have a couple things that are Hall of Fame sanctioned that we do. Super Bowl is a big time for us when we have the selection and we pick our new class, doing the knocks, all that fun stuff. It's a pretty big time around Super Bowl. Draft, it's now become a big time for us, especially when we're doing a pre-draft show for everything like that. And then like you said, enshrinement, that's our biggest time. That's when we're all running around here like crazy people trying to get content, create content, promote that, enshrinement, all of that fun stuff. And in between those big events, we as the Hall of Fame Productions do a lot of our own kind of content creation. If we have a cool guest that comes to the hall, we'll do kind of a spotlight vignette on them and kind of where they've come from, what they're doing, all that fun stuff, visiting the hall. We capture stuff for all of our own events that are going on. We actually, during draft, we're doing a Hall of Fame Forever TV show honoring the posthumous members from the class of 2020 and Bill Nunn from 2021. So that's our Hall of Fame sanctioned thing that we're also getting ready for during draft too. So we're pretty busy these next 2 weeks. What else? We're traveling right now. We go on the road for different Ford programs and Centene programs that we're doing. We just rolled out vaccine PSAs with using different Gold Jacket and Hall of Fame family members that we have. So our schedule is always going. We're pretty busy all the time. Even when people think outside of enshrinement, they probably think it's a low time, but our team loves to keep moving. We love to keep going. We love to stay busy. We love to really be involved with the hall and everything going on here.
Now, this is something we usually dive into later in the program, but I think this is a great moment to look at. And you mentioned a lot of really cool things that you've gotten to be a part of, and that's one thing that comes with the career here at the Hall of Fame. But if you had to pick one moment out of your entire career you've had here, which is a very short career, in relative, to some other members at the Hall of Fame, what would that one moment stand out as, when you look back 50 years from now, it's like, hey, that was pretty cool. I got to be a part of this moment, a part of this event.
Jake, that's a hard question. I've gotten to be a part of a lot of cool things, and I've done in the 3 years that I've been here, I've done so much, whether it's working here at the hall, meeting just random volunteers that walk in the door, or traveling to different ring ceremonies when a Gold Jacket finally gets their ring in their home stadium in front of their fans. So really, it's really hard to narrow it down to one moment, but I think 2 things that really stand out to me. One is being a part of the selection process. It was 2019 or last Super, or not the Super Bowl, 2019, I believe. I was a part of the whole selection process when we were selecting our Centennial class and the new modern era members. So I got to be the only person that's not on that selection committee with a camera in here, documenting that, getting bites and clips from people as they present their Hall of Famers. So that to me really stands out as one of the cool moments. I would also say another one, and like I said, it's hard to narrow it down to one, would be the ring ceremonies. Our team was able to travel to different stadiums for their ring ceremonies, and I was there when Ed Reed got his ring, and it was when the Ravens played the Patriots, and he got his ring and at the Ravens Stadium. And I think it's just a moment that you realize all these guys are human and how much it means to them to get that ring in front of all of the people that have really helped them with their career get to where they are. Because without the fans, I know a lot of these guys say without the fans, there wouldn't be a game of football. So it's a beautiful moment. So I think one of those really stand out to me too.
All great moments. All I know is so hard to pick because there might be something that pops up next Tuesday that might supersede that because you never know what's going to go on here at the Hall of Fame. So with that being said, Nathan's messaged me. He's got some questions already. So we're going to throw it actually next door to me right here in at the Hall of Fame to Nathan Martin, who's in our Studio B for some questions from our Facebook. So Nathan, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jake. And like he was saying, guys, this is considered Studio B. I've got, the great Jim Brown and M. Smith behind me that you can see a little bit. But, we're not here to talk about them. We're here to ask Kara questions. So we got our first set of questions from Facebook. And the first one I'm going to ask Kara is from a return viewer of ours, Madison. She attends the University of Kentucky. And she was just curious, one, Kara, how did you get your foot in the door of working in sports? And then what advice would you offer a student who also has that same interest of working in sports?
That's a great question. So I was fortunate enough to have a Hall of Famer working at my university, Kellen Winslow. He was working at Madonna at the time when I was graduating. So I reached out to him. I went to visit him in his office when he was on campus. And I was fortunate enough to kind of reach out to him. He actually sent George Veras, who's my boss, the chief operating officer here at the Hall and executive producer. He sent George my resume, and then I got in contact with George and had an interview, and that's how I got my internship here. And then they kept me on full time. So my advice to young people right now in college, even in high school, is to really build and foster those relationships that you have with people, because you really never know where they're going to take you. My dad, Kellen, actually spoke at my brother's graduation ceremony, and I remember him being, that's a Hall of Famer right there. And then little did I know that Kellen speaking at my brother's graduation, he would work at Madonna University. And then here I am now working at the Hall with, I think, one of the best jobs in the world. So you never know where anybody you meet is going to take you. So you just really need to, like I said, build and foster the relationships that you make, and build and foster those connections that you have. Because you don't know where anything's going to take you in this world.
Yeah, I think that's so critical because, like you're saying, we don't know, how that connection might pay off later on. Your brother, Kellen Winslow spoke at graduation, and then you're at college where he's working at, and just like all those little interactions led to ultimately him, vouching for you and emailing George Veras here at the Hall, and then that opens the door for you. So, like you're saying, I would encourage students to cherish and take advantage of everyone you meet, whether it's professors or it's your classmates, because your classmates someday might have a job someplace that you want to go work at that organization, and they could kind of open the door for you there. Another question from Facebook, and this is from, if I say the name wrong, I apologize, but Eloy, and he's asking, he says, how long have you been a football podcaster, or maybe how long have you been helping with the podcast here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the Mission?
I believe it's been since 2019 we started the Mission podcast, and our very first episode was with our very own Joe Horrigan, and from there we've grown to have all kinds of people on our podcast. We've had Sarah Thomas, the first official female ref. She was on a couple weeks ago, and that to me that's my favorite podcast personally. I know we've had all kinds of gold jackets on and everything, but she was my favorite podcast. But since 2019 we've really We've built our brand and our podcast called The Mission. You guys can listen to it right now on iTunes. If you just look up Pro Football Hall of Fame, The Mission, you can go listen to all of our episodes right now. We're turning that point. We're getting to episode 100. So it's something that I'm really proud of that we started and recreated while I've been here at the Hall. And I love working with Jameer, and we get an idea and we run with it. And like I said, we've had gold jackets, we've had refs, we've had all kinds of people. We've just had Marquise who wrote My Best Day book. So we have an array of different people on the podcast. So if you love sports, there's something on there for you for the mission.
Yeah, I would echo that because I am a consistent listener. I've listened to every single episode of The Mission. So if you are a podcast listener, check it out. You know, Jameer and Kara do a great job producing that and putting out great content, whether it's authors, it's former football players or football executives, whatever it may be. A great podcast for sure. And Kara has a big hand in making that show what it is. But keep sending in your questions, students. You know, use the Facebook. Let us know. Or the Facebook. Who am I? Use the Facebook chat. I sounded really old there for a second. Use the chat. Tell us where you're going to school and what your question for Kara is. We'd love to have you guys participate in the program. Before I say something else that makes me sound really old, I'm going to send it back to Jake for some more questions.
The Facebook. Great, Nathan. Thank you so much for getting there. Again, I encourage students to send those questions in. Usually after we ask those first ones, we start to see a plethora come through. So get those questions in. Nathan's looking for them. And we'll make sure we try our best to make them as part of the program. Now, you know, we mentioned, Kara, a few minutes ago about some of your favorite moments and how it's hard to choose, you know, one out of all the ones you got to be a part of. And, you know, a goal we try to do during this program is to incorporate the Pro Football Hall of Fame Museum to showcase everybody watching, you know, at the core of what we do here in Canton, Ohio, you know, we are a museum. So what better way to incorporate the museum than to send it out to where literally no guests, I would say less than 1%, get to go. So with that, I'm going to send it out to Jerry Shockey, the Director of Youth and Education, who's in part of our museum. You could say museum in quotes. That's kind of special and very, very unique that not a lot of people get to see. Jerry, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, Jake. Thank you, Kara, for being here. And Nathan, we are coming to you live on the Facebook right now. And so excited to connect with you guys here, all the high school students, college students, and beyond. And as Jake said, I'm in a very special area. I want to walk over to the space in our facility that very few people have access to at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is the area that actually serves as a green room for our major events because it's right underneath our stage. And so whether it's full of gold jackets or a band like Maroon 5 or Imagine Dragons, you actually see behind me, this is kind of the autograph wall when people come in and perform. You have some signatures here. I'm gonna flip around real quick and just show you guys some here. If we go around this way, I can show you guys Runaway June. You see, let's see if we go on here, Imagine Dragons. We can go on down here and see Maroon 5. And so some of the big marquee bands that come in here, they actually sign those. And so let me go ahead and flip it back around so you guys can see me. But what's really cool about this experience is that one of those few people that gets to be down here is actually Kara. And so, you know, Kara, can you tell us about what it's like to be behind the scenes? What is your experience working around these legends in the music industry and gridiron greats and all that? What's it like being in that atmosphere?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It goes back to what Jake and I talked about. It's another favorite moment of mine. You know, you can't narrow it down. So 2018, when Imagine Dragons actually performed when Maroon 5 performed at Enshrinement, that was my first enshrinement. I was a little intern with my camera. I was the only camera allowed down where Jerry's at right now, and I had to take the actual like meet and greet photos and stuff like that. So here's little intern Kara with her camera getting behind the scenes looks at everything. And it was actually, besides all of our gold jackets, it was the first time that I was around someone famous of that magnitude. And the whole time I was like, don't mess up, watch where you're stepping, don't mess up, like please be careful, like just don't do anything to embarrass yourself or embarrass the hall. Like be professional, like don't get starstruck. So being in that atmosphere and getting to work with those guys, I also helped do the when Imagine Dragons were here, I was their photographer for their meet and greet. So you can't get starstruck, but it's pretty amazing after you do everything and after you be professional for it. You kind of take a step back once you're at home after everything and you're like, oh, I just did that. I just was with them like during their thing. So, but sometimes it's kind of crazy too, because from capturing the photos and everything with Maroon 5, I then had to drop off the memory card, drop it off to our editor, Eric, get a new memory card, and then run to the pit where media was to grab concert footage of them. So you never really have a time until, like I said, once you go home to really like take everything in and be like, wow, I was just in the presence of Adam Levine. And then everybody that I like tell, they're like, oh my God, like that's so crazy. And, you know, it goes back to being another favorite moment and getting to work with those guys. And it's just spectacular is what I can say. And that's just kind of how I feel with it. And that's kind of, the energy is spectacular.
And you said like Adam Levine. I mean, how do you avoid from being starstruck? Like you're all of a sudden just like, oh my goodness, it's Adam Levine, you know, or something like that. How do you stay professional, stay composed, and do your job, which is, you know, what we're supposed to do is be professional and do our job while we're around, you know, some people that we've admired or respected or just have in many ways been fans of for so many years.
I will say I have two things. One, I'm lucky because I get to hide behind a camera. So I had a camera in front of my face, so I could be like, oh my God. But then, no, I really think you have to remember, like, no matter how famous someone is, they're human. It's just who they are. They're a human too. So they don't want to get treated. And well, from when I've talked about this with people, they're human too. So they're just treat them like they're your friend, or treat them like they're your boss. You know, maybe you don't want to go like dab someone up real quick, but you just like want to treat them like they're your boss, and you just have a lot of respect for them. So I would just say, you know, just you just take a breath and then just let it go from there.
Perfect. I know my dad always had a saying when I was playing against someone who was like a star or something like that, or in sports or something like that was really good. He used to always tell me, you know, they put their pant leg on one leg at a time, just like you do.
Yes.
So it's a reminder that we're all human. Exactly.
Yes,
so thank
exactly.
you very much, Kara. Jake, I'm going to send it back to you.
Thanks,
All right,
Jerry.
thanks, Jerry. Yes, thank you. I think that was a great perspective on something that we have to deal with, you know, very, very, you know, all the time here at the Hall of Fame, depending on, you know, who's be here, whether it's a visit for the first time, enshrinement time, you know, events with the Gold Jackets, whatever it might be. But it's truly about, in the sports industry specifically, that is such an important piece to every career, no matter, you know, what field, you know, within the sports industry that you work in. I want to take it back a little bit, take it back to high school, Kara, high school days. Two-part question here. One, was this always what you wanted to do? And two, for somebody who might be in the place where they don't really have an idea on what they want to do, you know, where their career wants to take them, what would some advice be for those students to kind of find that one thing that they love?
Yeah, I definitely, in high school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew something with computers and something like this is what I think early on in high school I didn't know, but then later in high school I did know, because I was blessed that our high school had so many opportunities for so many different things. My senior year, I was a part of the our morning news for our university, and then I was also a part of our school store and our marketing class. So I was blessed to have all kinds of different opportunities in high school and different classes that I was able to take. So I know early on, I didn't know. I knew I was good with computers and I wanted to do something like that. And then later on, once I kind of found my niche within like photography and doing all the video stuff within the school's morning announcements, that's when I was like, okay, I don't know specifically what I want to do in this field, but I know that I want to do all of the stuff that entails within this field. And that's how I found Madonna University. Is my dad actually knew that they had a great broadcasting program, and I was planning on going away to college, but then once I got the letter for the university I wanted to go to, it just didn't feel right. So then that's when my parents were like, all right, let's go to Madonna, and they have this open house one day. So, but yeah, I think it was later on in high school when I knew I wanted to do something, no matter what it was, within the video production field. But I would recommend to students, try everything. It doesn't, like, even if you don't think you're going to like it, try it. And then that way it solidifies whether or not you really don't like it, or it could open up a whole new world for you that you're like, well, hey, like, this is actually pretty cool. And get involved too. If you have clubs that are kind of unique, get involved with those. I really just try everything and get involved. That's really kind of what happened to me with my path. Is I tried different things in high school and in college, and then I really was I was heavily involved in college. So that would be my advice and my 2 cents for that.
All right. Great answer. Great way to put it in perspective. You know, sometimes you have that idea what you want to do. You know, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't even know it until it comes time to graduate and you're a senior in college. So if you don't, the biggest thing out of that, if you're a high school student, maybe a freshman, sophomore, and you don't know what you want to do, that's okay. Now the time is going to come where you need to know what you want to do. But if you don't know it and you don't have to have everything planned out and your entire life scripted, because who knows what's going to change, who knows what's going to come to your plate, or who knows, you may find something that you had no idea you liked. And it's like Kara said, all about getting that experience. Got a lot of questions rolling in from Facebook, so we're going to throw it back over to Nathan for some more questions from our commenters on the Facebook.
Thank you, Jake, for sending out here. Yes, I'm the 25-year-old that doesn't know what I want to do when I grow up and refers to Facebook as the Facebook. But questions for Kara that we're getting from Facebook, because we've gotten some really, really good questions from our students. This is from Amy. She attends Marquette, Kara, and she wants to know, what piece of advice do you wish someone had told you while you were in college that you've heard since college? That makes sense. Since you've been out of school, you've received some piece of advice that you're like, dang, I wish that 19-year-old Kara, when she was a freshman, sophomore in college, had been told this piece of advice.
Oh man, I think, okay, I'm gonna be honest. I think I heard this on a Before the Snap. So I would recommend, and my advice that I would give people is to, if you don't know what you want to do, or if you have a field and you're like, well, what do I want to do within this field? I would start looking at different jobs. No matter what age you are, look at jobs, see what degree, like start looking at job boards, whether it's on LinkedIn or whatever the new hip job board is that you can find jobs for. I would start looking at those jobs, look at the job descriptions, and then really that'll help you kind of be like, okay, well, there's a brand manager position and I would love to do stuff that's in this brand manager description, or there's like a finance position open and you're like, oh wow, I actually would really like to do that. And so then that way you can kind of tailor and get your view of what you want to do with the rest of your career or where you want to go. And if that changes, then I would just keep looking at those job boards to see what jobs are out there and to see what you can do within a field. Like if you go into marketing, you don't just have to be you don't just have to do one thing within marketing. There's so many things within the marketing field that you can do. So I would just really, the piece of advice that I wish I would have taken that advice, and I wish I would have actually looked at what's out there. So
No, I think that's makes a lot of sense, because first, appreciate you plugging Before the Snap. Heard the advice from Before the Snap episode, but I think that makes a lot of sense, that if you're unsure, or even if you are sure, go read what these job descriptions say you would have to do with a certain position. And then you can be like, okay, I can volunteer and get this experience helping a high school or maybe a small college, or, I need to take classes that are centered on this in college. In addition to, it says I need a major in finance or marketing or sport management or whatever it may be.
yes.
It just is better equipping you to have the knowledge that you'll need for the career. In addition to, hopefully you're building a network of people that can help you get into there. So another question from Facebook we got, really interesting question. So I'm curious to hear how you answer it. And I think Jake might provide some insight afterwards, but this is from Keely, and she goes to Keystone College. And she said, can you remind us again, what was your major, Kara? Maybe why did you choose the major that you chose?
Yeah.
And then she's a sports recreation management major, and she's just curious for some maybe advice with that degree. What do you think she should be looking at going forward?
Gotcha. Yeah. So my degree, again, I went to Madonna University in Livonia, Michigan. Go Crusaders. Love ya. Miss ya. I went to Madonna University for a broadcast and cinema arts degree, and I also got a degree in marketing. And like I said, I ended up there because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go away for school, and they were, it's about 15 minutes from where I live. So I was able to commute to my university. And then I chose it because the program is amazing. I still love everything that they do. I still stand by that it's one of the best programs that you can go into for this kind of thing. And like I said, my dad and my mom were both like, hey, Madonna's having an open house. Like, you want to go check it out? So that's how I got there. And like I said, I miss them. And I love the path that I went down and all that stuff. But sports recreation, right? That's what she said she did in advice.
Yes, that is correct. Any advice there? I know Jake has a little bit of background with recreation, so he might be able to chime in.
Yeah,
but just curious
honestly,
if you got anything.
Yeah, I would just get involved. If you have different kind of sports things that are going on in your community that can help you with that, or within your university or wherever you're at, I would just recommend getting involved. that's just kind of what you need to do, I think, to kind of keep going down that career path or keep going with that.
No, I think that's great advice. It seems simple, but when we get the opportunity to interview potential interns or new hires here, we're always curious, what is that experience that you've got? So if it's experience tailored towards sports recreation, I think that opened a lot of doors for Keely from Keystone. Jake, anything to add there for Keely?
Yeah.
When I was in school, I did a lot of work at my university. I went to Ashland University right here in Ohio. I did a lot of work with their recreational department, sports rec. I worked in, from equipment checkout to the front desk, and I spent a lot of my time in intramurals. So I think for that, it's just like Kara said, involve yourself as much as you can, because you're going to find out if that's the path you want to go down. If it is, go to conferences, network, start talking to different grad school programs, because if you want to work in sports rec, grad school is almost a must. So I think that those things right there are very important, especially within the field of sports recreation. I want to, kind of jump off of that back with a question back to you, Kara, is, we've talked about so much about, volunteering or taking experiences. Along with that comes networking. We know networking is super important in any career field, but specifically the sports industry. So from your experiences, from your time at Madonna, what are some tips, some tricks to make sure you can have a good network or to start the networking process if you're a student in college trying to set yourself up for a career after you graduate?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely suggest or recommend LinkedIn. I think everybody uses LinkedIn now or is on LinkedIn. So I highly recommend using that to keep connected. Or if you have, I would send thank you emails to people. So really it's keeping the communication going, even if you don't have conversations with them every day. It's every couple months, just send a follow-up email. Or going back to LinkedIn, if you want to connect with someone, don't just do the generic LinkedIn connect, like without a message. Personalize it a little bit. You can write a thank you note within that connection. I would just recommend you just keep building that connection, keep contacting people. Really just every couple months, maybe send an update of what you're doing. Maybe not every 2 months, but maybe every 6 months to a year. Just keep sending those emails, maybe contact that person, call them, send them a text, something, depending on the level of the relationship. But I would recommend keeping up with LinkedIn, keeping up by sending emails or contacting someone.
And I think the cool thing about that is once you have a career, once you have a job, networking never stops.
Right.
We're networking every day with our careers at the Hall of Fame, whether we're working with podcast guests or guests for Before the Snap, NFL teams, the NFL, the league office itself. You're working with so many different people, building relationships and continuing to build that network. As Jameer Howerton, another member of our Hall of Fame team here, said on this program, that your net worth is your network. So you have to put the work in to build your network, because in the end, in the long game, it's going to play out best for you. And just like, you continue to network, once you have a career, you don't have to stop learning. You can continue to strive to be the best employee that you can be. So, thanks to technology, Zoom, like we're on today, so many different things out there, you're able to kind of better yourself and better your career. So Kara, for you, how do you continually to better your craft? I know from a production standpoint and an editing standpoint, there are so many things out there that you can do, even if it's just doing stuff, on your own at home, to kind of better prepare and better your craft when it comes to editing. So for you, what are some things that you do, throughout the year to make sure, you're at the top of your game when it comes to your job here at the Hall?
Mm-hmm. That is, I'm going to reinforce that point. You never stop learning, no matter what field you're in. Things are always changing. And I know within the video production world, there's new stuff every day almost, it seems like. There's a new GoPro, there's a new Canon camera, there's a mirrorless lens, there's all kinds of things that are coming and changing. I know just yesterday we just talked with people about a cloud switcher that you can just take with you wherever you go on your computer. So I really would suggest, I like to subscribe to different video production magazines or newsletters, really staying up to date with all of the new tech that's coming out, no matter in every single aspect of life. Computers, there's new computers all the time, TVs, everything. There's new, it really, in the day and age that we live in, everything's updating, everything's new. So I would just recommend really reading and staying up to date. I also would recommend too, if you're in the video production world, I get B&H email updates all the time with new tech that there is. And then from that new tech, I'll go update it, or not update, but I'll go research and look at what's going on with it, or different like Canon websites. You can subscribe to their newsletters, or Red Cameras. So depending on what field you're in, there's obviously going to be different newsletters that you can subscribe to, or different pages you can look at. But I would I subscribe to the newsletters. If you can, make an email folder where all of those emails go, so that they don't clutter up your inbox. But I would suggest reading and staying up to date, even watching TV and documentaries and stuff. They too can help you stay up to date with new tech, and it can really help. You can look and see where the whole field that you're going into is going to.
So now that we're on the topic of production, for somebody who might be in that field in college or looking to break into the industry, what specific advice would you give to them, for those students who have that production background, that degree, wanting to break into, the industry? Maybe it's sports, maybe it's not, maybe it's movies, whatever it might be. What advice would you give to them?
The advice I would give to them is to learn every single position that you can, because for me and my experience, I didn't know I was going to have chief audio engineer at the end of my title. And here I am today. Audio is kind of one of my favorite things. So, and in college, I kind of tried to stay away from that. So I would recommend learning every single position that you can, because if you know how your audio person is working, or if you're a director and and you've learned and managed to marvel at the audio aspect, then that's going to help you become a better director or a producer or whatever you want to be within this field. If you know how all of these jobs work, that's going to help you, because then you understand from the top position that you're at what's going on with, if there's problems within audio, lighting, being on camera too, like that. Some people, I know I've stayed away from being on camera, but if you know the position or the job or something like that, that'll help you be a better whatever else you want to do in this career.
I think that's great. And I think that's the cool thing about, any career, specifically in the sports industry, is that, half the things you said right there can apply to any position, to any job, let alone just the production side of sports. So with that, I'm going to throw it back out to Facebook. I've got the Facebook feed up here, so I've seen some questions popping up, and I know we've got some really good ones coming up. So we're going to throw it out to Nathan to get to some of those.
Yeah, we definitely do, Jake, have some great questions. And the first one I'm going to ask, though, is from it still is a good question. Jayla asked a great question, and she attends the Ohio State University. And she said, Kara, would you recommend grad school? Yes or no? Pros and cons.
Yes. I mean, you can always, it goes back to never stop learning. Another degree is never going to hurt you. You can always better yourself. You can always continue your education and never stop learning. So if you have the means and the funds to go to grad school, go ahead, go do it, go get another degree. In this day and age too, more degrees don't hurt. It only betters yourself.
No, I think that's true. I mean, not all careers require it, but I think the world that we live in and work in, experience is so critical, but you can still learn from textbooks, you can, and grad school really is a great place to network, because you're taking these classes with other professionals that are in the industry.
Definitely. One of my friends right now, I will say, she is in grad school right now at USC, and the stuff that she's learning and the contacts she's making, it's unbelievable. So depending on what your field is, like Nathan said, you don't have to, but if you can and if you want to, it's only going to better yourself.
Yeah, so I would agree with that for sure. Next question we got is from, he's really a mentor for all of us on this. He's a mentor for you, Kara. He's a mentor for Jake. He's a mentor for myself and Jameer Howerton, the host of The Mission. He put in here, he wants to know, Kara, what are some of the challenges you may face on the job? And then how do you handle that adversity that you're facing?
Thank you, Jameer, for that question. I'll see you later for our mission filming. But no, adversity and challenges, you're going to face them everywhere you go. So the thing that I do is just you keep pushing through, no matter what it is, no matter what you're doing. You just, if there's a path that's blocked by a challenge, you figure out okay, what's the next best thing or next best way we can fix this and push through it, and it's going to happen everywhere you go, but you just got to keep pushing and you got to keep moving through it. And that's just basically what I do. So that's the best advice I can offer for people is just keep moving through it and just keep pushing through it.
All right, well, I'm gonna push you a little bit more on this because Natalie from Villanova asked a very similar question to Jameer. She said, what experience that you've had best prepared you to know how to handle those obstacles and adversity that you face?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Oh, man. I think really just, and this is very generic and very broad, so I apologize. It's not going to be specific, but I think everywhere I've been and different projects that I've worked on and different things that I've been a part of, they've all had different challenges that have been brought and that have happened. So let's just say it was my senior film project and a couple of us weren't getting along, but you know what? We needed to push through and have a finished project. So there's different conversations that were had and different things needed to be said. So you just take with what you're given. And then if it's with people, open communication to me is the best thing that you can do. If it's with technology and something's not working, scratch it, restart it, get a different computer. Or I'm just trying to think of examples, like what's the next best way to do something, if that answers the question.
No, that's good. You talked about several different experiences that you've had and how each one has kind of been a building block. You've been building a foundation where now you're not as flustered when there's some type of obstacle or adversity that maybe you once were when you were in college and you were just first experiencing those types of things going wrong, where technology, we love it, but it fails us, at times. So how do we handle that?
Yes. And I will say with this job, I've learned how to have a lot of different rigs and setups and connections and different things that aren't supposed to have different connections in there. So you learn with everything that you do, and every production setup you learn. Sometimes you got to call those connections you made. I know there's been times where I've called my professors I'm done and I'm like, hey, can you help me with this? So it really is just, it's learning and it's adjusting to all of the challenge and obstacles that are thrown at you.
Yeah, you talk about production setups. If they could see the production setup we have for you, we've got it clean. It looks great on the Facebook right now. But if they could see the behind the scenes, they probably would laugh and be like, wow, that's how they set that up. But we've got some more questions, Jake, but I'm going to send it back to you to get a couple more in, and then maybe we can finish up with some more Facebook questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. And thank you to everybody who asking questions. Thanks to Jameer. It's always cool. We have a former guest, tuning in, watching the program. If I could reach through the door and, pound fist with him, I know he's right on the other side here. So I appreciate everybody tuning in today, especially, we're reaching students all across the country. Flipping back to you, Kara, here, here at the Hall of Fame, I mentioned our mission at the beginning. I mentioned our values. We're definitely unapologetically football. The game of football can teach so much about your life, about the life lessons to make you a better person. Now we know there's a lot of other things out there that can do that, but like here, we're focusing on the game of football. So for you, growing up around the game, being a fan, being involved in the game now, what is one thing or a few things you think the game of football can teach those who play it, coach it, are fans of it? What is that life lesson that they can take away?
Oh, there's so many life lessons. And I think being surrounded by it, I know all of those life lessons, but I would say the one thing that is a constant lesson that you hear from everybody and something that I've learned is teamwork. My job in my career is team-based. You can do a production by yourself, but there's always going to be something just off that if you do it all by yourself, there's some things you want to change. But when you have a team or you have 2-3 people, it just helps bring a better production value and production aspect to things. And then you don't have to do everything by yourself. And I know with football, you can't play a game of football without every single guy on that field working together to win a game and to win a Super Bowl. Like if one guy doesn't do their job, then the quarterback's going to get sacked, or there's going to be, there's something happen that if one guy doesn't do his job, there's a bad outcome that comes from it. So I think really, even in your personal life, teamwork is with your friends, your family. You really are a team with people and everything that you do.
And I think that's super important because not only does that lead to a greater product, it leads to great relationship building. And when you have a close knit team like that, when you can bring anything up, good or bad, it's ultimately going to lead to a better result down the road. And that's a very, very important piece of any career, not just here at the Hall of Fame, the NFL, football. That can go for any job out there. You know, working with a team is something that sports, music, dance, whatever it might be, can very, very well teach and help, you know, every outcome situation that there might be. You know, throughout the program, for those of you, I know Nathan knows it, but for all of our viewers out there who can't already tell, we know, Kara, you are definitely passionate about what you do, and you definitely love your job here at the Hall of Fame. And, you know, the old cliche saying is, everybody's heard it before, you know, you never work a day in your life if you truly love what you do. So I just want to pose that question to you. Why does Kara Kwiecinski love working here at the Hall of Fame?
Oh my goodness, that's a loaded question. But the hall is just, I think it really goes back to our mission and our values. You know, people live and breathe that every single day here, and I think it goes back to working here. You're working with the NFL. You know, it's not the same thing every single day. There's always something new. There's always new visitors walking in here. The people that I've met, not just Gold Jackets, not just Maroon 5, you know, like all of the people that just come in here, the volunteers, you know, like working at the hall is just a very, very unique experience because we are a part of the NFL in a way, but we also are a museum in itself, and the way we work and promote ourselves and just our values and stuff, really, it's really just a beautiful place and a nice place to work. And I just love being here at the hall, and I'm going to gush, but I love my teammates, you guys, Jameer, Eric, George, Max, Jared, you know, and all of the other people too. I can't name everybody, but it's really that team aspect and that team atmosphere here. So that's why I love the hall.
Awesome. I think, you know, we're happy to accept that. I think we can echo it the same for you. We love working with you and love having you as a part of our team here at the Hall of Fame, you know, specifically, you know, not only our department, but the entire organization. I'm pretty certain I can speak on behalf of all the people here at the Hall of Fame that will echo that same sentiment. Nathan's got a few more questions from Facebook that he's going to ask here, and then we'll start to wrap up the program. So Nathan, we'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. I do have a couple of questions. And first one, Kara, is from Danielle. She also attends Ohio State. And she said, how was your role at the hall impacted or affected by COVID? You know, and is it back to normal, or kind of how's that impacted you?
So we aren't back to normal just yet, but my role was impacted by COVID tenfold. You know, now it's crazy. I never thought I would be as handy with Zoom as I am. We do virtual shows through Zoom now. We have one next week on the 20th, highlighting the Buffalo Bills for a sponsor. So it's changed immensely how people are handling productions, you know, wearing masks all the time, being spread out 6 feet apart. I think the footprint of some productions now have expanded because you have to be 3 to 6 feet apart depending on where you're at or what you're doing. So it's still almost the same, but it's also very different, if that makes sense. But yeah, a lot of stuff now is virtual. We instead of when we travel, sometimes we'll have a Zoom plug into the camera so that multiple people that aren't allowed to travel with our organization can view through Zoom the camera shot that's being set up. So it's hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going back to normal. And then it goes back to, like I said earlier, there's now like cloud switchers that you can find. I know too, a lot of things are going to the iPhone because setting up massive cameras and stuff takes a lot of people. So if you just shoot on an iPhone, it just really takes only one person. So it's crazy to see how fast things changed within a year within this field.
Yeah, I think, you know, Jake and I would say the same. COVID did impact our work a little bit, and we are hoping and praying that things can get back to, I guess, some sense of normalcy is the terminology that's being used. But 2 more questions I got for you, Kara. This one actually came from 2 different people. Andrew from James Madison University and Catherine, who went to Northwood, both kind of asked the same question. They said, what's the best part of your job at the Hall of Fame?
Oh my God. Everything. This whole job is the best part. You know, I get to work with our Gold Jackets. I get to meet these guys and speak with these guys, not just about their career on the football field, but I get to really, really learn their stories and what makes them a human, you know, different experiences that they've been through. We really get to tell their story off the football field here, and getting to know these guys on a different level is great, you know, and that's one thing I think. Not every single day this job is the same. Like today I'm doing this and then I'm helping Jameer. We're filming and recording podcasts all day, but Monday is a different day and it's going to bring different things, and we're getting ready for a TV show, so that's going to throw different things in here. I get to work with great people like you guys, so it's hard, and it's hard to narrow it down. I get to go and I get to travel and go to different NFL stadiums, be a part of different NFL events. So it really, there's not one thing that I can say. It's everything that adds up to be this job.
Yeah, I mean, you're not lying. I mean, this job is amazing. Being able to work at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You had me nervous there when you didn't mention Jake and I right off the top, but you circled back and mentioned, you know, your great teammates.
I mentioned you guys
like
earlier though, so and like I don't want to single anybody out because I love everybody here, so I just had to slow my roll. So, but
yeah, and I think our teammates know that we love working with them, and I would hope they'd say the same about us. So,
yeah.
Last question I got coming from Facebook. I really have enjoyed, you guys have sent in great questions. Thank you so much for interacting with the program. I know Jayla put in another one we won't get to, but you know, guys, if you didn't get your question asked on the program, connect with Kara. We've put the information right there in the comment section. Connect with her on LinkedIn. I'm sure she would be more than willing. If you guys, like she said, add that little personal message. Hey, I saw you on Before the Snap. And then maybe put your question and then kind of just touch base every now and again and build up that network. But last question we got, this is a fun one. This is from Christian, who attends the University of Massachusetts. And he says, Kara, we need to know favorite team, favorite Hall of Famer, go.
Okay, so I'm gonna scapegoat this one. I work at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, so my favorite team is all 32 NFL teams, and I love all of our Hall of Famers here. I cannot single anyone out because I love them all the same. No, but I'll follow that one up. So I'm actually from Metro Detroit. I'm from Plymouth, Michigan. So my hometown team are the Detroit Lions. So fingers crossed we'll have a good season this year, but I can't get our hopes up. But definitely the Lions are my hometown team.
So is it Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders? Where are you at there?
You know what? Calvin is now my new, once he gets that gold jacket, he'll definitely be my favorite. He was also on the Mission podcast too before he got that knock on the door. So if you want to go listen to that, if you're from Metro Detroit or if you're a Calvin Johnson fan, go listen to that podcast.
Yeah, awesome stuff, Kara. I want to say thank you so much for joining us for this program. It's been a pleasure of mine to ask these Facebook questions. Students, you know, and guests and viewers, thank you so much for sending in your questions. It's been a lot of fun. I'm going to send it back to Jake because I think he's going to finish it off with our traditional final questions. So Jake, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Nathan. Thank you so much. And again, I'll echo what Nathan said to all of our students and all of the people who are tuned in today. High school kids, college students, young professionals, seasoned vets, everybody who tuned in, thank you so much for watching the program today. And Nathan's right. We're going to wrap things up today with our final question, which if you're a viewer, you've seen the program before, you kind of know the direction I'm going. And it's just, you know, we've talked about so many cool things today, so many great tips and tricks. But if you could sum everything up, Kara, to one piece of advice that you want everybody to leave with today, what would that one piece of advice be?
I would say never stop learning. You know, that really goes back to everything that you do. You know, the world is changing, so you really need to keep learning and you need to change with it. You know, you just need to learn everything that's going on and things that change within your field or within just different things. You know, staying up to date, knowledge is power, so always keep learning.
All right. I can't think of a better way to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Before the Snap program, featuring our own Canton, Ohio's own Pro Football Hall of Fame, Kara Kwiecinski, the senior video producer and chief sound engineer here in Canton, Ohio. Kara, thank you so much for being part of the program. And on a side note, thank you so much for helping out with the program every other week that we're hosting here on Facebook on Fridays. We truly appreciate you taking your time, connecting with us, talking to students all across the country about your career today, and missed all the great podcasts that you guys are recording today.
Yes, Jake. Thank you so much for having me on here. You know, I love being a part of your program and working with you guys. And everybody remember, we have 2 shows coming up next week or in the next coming weeks with draft. So make sure you stay up to date with our Hall of Fame Facebook social channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We'll be posting Mission Podcast there all the time. And then also watch on May 1st, I believe we have our Hall of Fame Forever posthumous honoring show on NFL Network. So thanks, guys.
I was gonna plug all that stuff, but Kara took the
Oh, I'm
words right out of
sorry.
my mouth. All good. Nope, all good. We got the program plug that we needed to. Normally I like to introduce our guests next week that we're going to have, but I'm actually not going to be here. Nathan Martin is going to be our host next week. So I want to turn things over to Nathan Martin real quick to introduce our program that we're going to have right here next week.
Yeah, and actually, Facebook, Christian has said he's excited to see our guest next week. We'll have Nate Bain from the Tennessee Titans, who works on their team down there. He'll be a part of the program, and I'm sure it'll be another great one, as we've seen a lot of success with people that work in his career field. So go look it up. Go see what Nate does. I'm not gonna give you everything, but Nate Bain from the Tennessee Titans will be with us next week. Same time, same place here on the Facebook. You can find us and watch the program next week at the same time at noon. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And Jake, you can say goodbye one last time.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everybody. Way to bring that all back full circle there. And again, like he said, we'll see everybody right here on a Pro Football Hall of Fame Facebook page for our Before the Snap series next week, 12 o'clock. Special guest, Nate Bain. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week.